Good evening and welcome to another episode of Super Deluxe Gamescast. It is Thursday, September the 14th. We're halfway through the month. Big day in gaming today. We had a Nintendo Direct, a State of Play, and we're not going to talk about
we're
either
talking
of them.
about neither of those.
We're not talking about either of those things because we have something much cooler planned. Our very good friend, voice actor Cissy Jones, is on the program. This is Cissy's second time on. It's been way too long, Cissy, and we are so happy to have you back.
And you've had some very cool career turns in the meantime. So.
You have.
One or two. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I think the last time I was on was like at the height of the pandemic. Yeah.
It was right in the middle of COVID.
It's I would almost say that she's an absolute star in her field.
Shut up, Finn.
I'm good, actually.
I want to say
I'll give you that one.
I want to say that the last time you were on was actually before the Owl House, as well.
No, it was
during. It was
Call of the Sea,
Owl House
right?
existed. It was Call of the
Yes.
Sea.
Yeah.
So Owl House was still like on,
but it hadn't reached.
It was in its first season, so I don't think it had.
It hadn't blown up yet, for sure.
I actually never got to ask you this, Cissy, but did they design the main character of Call of the Sea after you physically? Because I remember playing it and I was like, this looks like Cissy. Like, I know it's her voice, but this just looks like Cissy.
I think they were actually going for like Naomi Watts. So if that means I look like Naomi Watts, I'll take it.
Hey, there you go. There you go. No, you have had, I think I would describe it as kind of a meteoric rise in your career after Firewatch, which is where that was my first exposure to you. And I actually played that game.
Do not expose yourself, you weirdo.
Well, hey,
you know what? Look, John gets really into games.
John.
Okay?
We're clipping John out of context.
Look,
we're getting rid of this
I love video
motherfucker.
games. Okay, I just I get really
John
excited.
Gets into it.
And that charity stream's gonna be rough.
But no, like Firewatch is is the first time I had ever encountered one of your voice roles, and I feel like to this day Delilah is still one of your best roles. And I could always. And I think one of the things that like I noticed about Delilah first was the way you just kind of poured all of yourself into that role and kind of took on. It was almost like Delilah was playing you as opposed to you playing Delilah. And I know that you put a lot of yourself into that role, and it's one of those roles that to this day, like I played the game in 2016 and it still sticks with me. So that was a really, really cool experience for me. But since then, your career has taken some really sharp turns, all of them upward. And one, we could not be prouder of the trajectory your career has taken. But two, I mean, enough of me. Like what has happened to you after Firewatch? Like and Call of the Sea. Why don't you tell some of the people listening where you have moved on to since then?
Madness and mayhem is basically where I reside now. No, listen, I want to say I've been really lucky, but I think luck is preparation and timing. So I happened to be in the right place at the right time for a lot of things, and was ready to go when the call came. I've gotten to work on some really great games. I got to work on the Owl House for Disney, which has been an experience unlike anything I've ever been a part of. And then I love that show. I love it. I've got all of my fan merch behind me.
Amazing.
And then this year in rapid fire succession was Remnant 2, Baldur's Gate 3, and Starfield. And Starfield I've been working on. I first got the audition in 2016.
Wow.
And I first booked it in 2018. And I've been working on it ever since, and so to have it out in the wild is really scary. The night before it came out, I'm just like rocking in fetal position, like I hope it doesn't suck, because it's really scary to spend that much time and that much effort on something and then have it go to the world. Bye, little baby, don't suck.
Yeah,
that is like. So I was not aware that you had
John
booked
didn't
that
know.
role.
Didn't even know about Starfield.
Just now.
John was
was
come
like,
on his
"What's
show and didn't know. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Like at all. Like I didn't even know. And and to learn that you had first auditioned for this in 2016, like that is like it really kind of it really kind of gives you perspective into just how long some of these dev cycles can be.
It's been interesting
and I
talking
kept my
to
trap shut for that long.
Yeah,
I just want to like give myself some like I did it. I kept my mouth shut.
Like
That's impressive.
How long did it take you over those years to record all your voice lines for Starfield?
I mean, we would go. There were weeks that I was recording 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, for 5 or 6 weeks at a time, and then they'd go away and read, write more, and then they'd come back, and then they'd go away and write more, and then they'd come back, and then I wouldn't hear anything, and I started thinking, oh God, have I been recast? Because I'm an actor, and that's where my brain goes. And then they'd come back, and then it was pickups, and then it was like, we want to go more into romance territory, and I was like, oh, okay. We get to do that in a booth. That's yep.
Is it always like is it awkward when they ask you that? It's like okay, we really want to dial up the romance here. Like
it's a little weird. It's a
little weird.
I mean,
like that. Yeah.
Especially because player doesn't have a voice, right?
Yeah.
So you have to do a lot.
You're like
actually,
somebody.
That's a good question. Is like when based on other roles where you're having like not even like a back and forth, but because you're not always in the same studio, but you at least like know what the character is saying to you. How does that change your approach to what you do if you're basically having a one-sided conversation, but you still have to convey all the same emotions?
Yeah, it's a different muscle. I had really terrific directors, thankfully. And I have a very overactive imagination. So I was able to like get in my head for a lot of things and imagine what I would be hearing from player and then respond that way. But yeah, it's weird. It's real weird. It's real weird. I got married to somebody that couldn't talk.
Yeah.
So that's a thing that happened.
I imagine
and you lived happily ever after.
Yeah. I imagine it's further complicated by like a game like Starfield, especially when you have a protagonist who's not voiced. Like it's that much easier to rewrite all of their lines and responses, right? Because you don't have to go back, in theory, you don't have to go. So like, I imagine that caused you to have to record probably so many lines that didn't even end up getting used, or so many takes that didn't get used because they were like, and you can't barely know because you're on only that one side of the curtain.
Well, takes, yes. So the way that I like to work is if I have a line, I'll do what's called 3 in a row. And it's exactly what it sounds like, but each take is different.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have the word no, you can just say no, or you can say no, or you can say no. And so I like to do that with my takes. I like to give them options and then make their lives difficult by having to choose. So yeah, there's a lot that didn't make it in just by proxy of 3 in a row. But other than that, yeah.
So voice acting is the funny thing about voice acting is like you'll see these really you'll see voice actors that are well known like yourself, and if you go to their IMDb, they'll be in games that you never expected. Right, like as additional voice or
like in Boss Baby as a
yes.
So I love it. I was like, you know what? Why talk about Baldur's Gate? Why talk about Starfield? Let's talk Boss Baby back in the crib. Let's get the fans what they want. But actually, John, when you're done with your question, that's the perfect segue for what I have to ask.
Yeah, no, sure. Like for example, Cissy, I had no idea that you played additional voices in one of my favorite games from last year, which was Tactics Ogre Reborn.
Yeah.
Did I?
Apparently.
That's what it says.
Neat.
You do so many. You do so like you can't like that's how busy you are.
Yeah.
That's how busy
I have
you are.
made it my superpower to forget auditions and to forget sessions because you drive yourself crazy if you hold on to any one of them. And the number of times we go in for sessions and we don't get called back or they recast us or whatever. I've walked into sessions and they've been like, "Oh my God, we loved your audition," and I'm like,
"Which one?
You have it? Can you play it for me?"
That one. I really really poured everything into it.
So Ogre Tactics, I'm glad it landed for you. I have no idea what it was.
Well, and the other one that I know you'll remember is I really enjoyed you playing Abdiel in Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Yeah.
And, I get the sense that you really enjoy playing villains. when you get the chance.
Well, my voice lends itself to villains because I don't have
Does it
the,
really?
the super like stereotypical Barbie sound, right? Like I'm
That's
not,
fair.
Yeah.
I'm not perky. I don't have the like high perky sound. So I have dark and foreboding. So
you're very
you work
good
with
at
what you
making your
got.
voice like authoritative, which is what Abdiel needs, right? Like Abdiel or a character like the Absolute. Like if your character's named the Absolute, you'd better sound like the absolute authority on whatever it is you're speaking about.
It's also scares my kids because then they're like, "Don't yell at me like that."
do you ever
Great.
do you ever record lines as like a bad guy, then play them back for your kids whenever they screw up? Like it's your
Giving ideas.
beast, or like
just the,
John out
the
here
low
be like, "Do
chuckle.
you scar your children for
I
fun?"
mean, sometimes it's necessary.
We are getting glimpses into John's life that I was not expecting tonight.
Finn, you said that you had,
Yeah,
you
so
had-
that actually is a perfect segue because like Cissy,
I
you're
set you up real well.
you always do. You teed it up and I'm gonna knock it down. But
there you go. There you
so
go.
like you do these massive roles like in Starfield and Baldur's Gate, which by the way, the only other person that this year to be prominently featured in such massive games. So just shout out to you. Like good times. But like then you find like it's not just you, but like other major voice actors as well, like Jennifer Hale and everyone. Like you'll always sometimes get these like smaller roles or like I guess bit roles or just like where you're not even named, you're just additional voices. Like how does that even happen? Like when you are so talented and then you get pulled into like does that ever like do you know what you're doing and your scope in the project when you get called in, or after the fact you're just like, oh, I guess I'm just some NPC in town 1 or something?
Yeah, it's I still have to audition for every job. Most jobs, I still have to audition. So we're not always given the scope of what it is. A lot of times they have already cast with celebrities, and so we don't get to do the main roles. Yeah, it is what it is. And, sometimes you do additional voices and sometimes you do a named character. You hope for the named character. That's always the goal. But additional voices they also get you to getting your insurance. So,
I mean,
Yeah.
that's fair. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
ever I think we should start the petition to get you to voice Samus in Metroid Prime 4.
Oh, I would like that. Actually.
okay. Oh,
I think
God,
we might have had
okay.
to start that petition about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
but-
No, the game's been rebooted so many
I
times.
don't think
it's
they've
fine.
gotten around to recording any dialogue or even developing a fucking
Well, it's
level.
not
What are
like
you talking
Samus
about?
says much anyway. I mean, there'd be a day in the booth, and like it's
You
probably
grunt.
it. Like
You
Samus
know
is
what?
the
Actually,
strong
I've
type.
got the best role for Cissy.
Bring it.
Derek is actually going to have you audition for the role of announcer of SDGC intro titles. Like,
Why would you take my job from me? Why would you do that?
Because
Sissy, so
We're pivoting. We're going in a new
speaking
direction.
of Derek and voice roles, Derek got his first voiceover work.
Yeah, he did.
It's not the same. I do commercial
That's
voice work.
amazing.
It's not like voice
Congratulations.
acting.
So
All
Dude,
same.
It is.
Congratulations.
Well, same but different.
don't short yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely, Derek.
I'm not the one that brought this up. So
I'm just saying, I'm putting you on the spot and calling you out because you've got a very, very, your voice is like a honeyed potion being poured in my ear. Like it's fantastic.
Some
It's
people
fantastic.
think that. I don't understand what they're thinking, but
I
you know.
you know.
I'm on the show every week, damn it.
Sissy, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Is there, so you've been like you've played a multitude of roles now at this point. You've been in some major franchises. I mean, you've been in Baldur's Gate and Starfield, which is a major Bethesda release.
John acted like he knew that from the
That you now
beginning.
know about.
yeah. I mean, I knew the whole time. I'm just fucking with
This
you
question
guys.
was
I'm
already
just
perfectly
confirming.
I just
formulated.
found out what Starfield was like yesterday. Like, it's
I
getting
don't
off.
even. What is a video game?
It's
I
like
don't even know what
Fallout
video
in
games are.
space. Whoa.
But like you've been in a big JRPG like Shin Megami Tensei 5. Is there a particular franchise where you're like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Like I've got to have a role in this somehow.
Yeah, is there a
I would
like,
love to
bucket list?
do. I would love to do like a Jane Bond. I would love to do something like that. I think IO has the license now to James Bond. Is that right? But
What's
I would love to do.
What's that Monolith FPS series with like that's like a pastiche of
You know what? No One Lives Forever?
60s. Yes.
Yes.
Like a pastiche of like James Bond.
And if they ever brought
Yeah.
back No One Lives Forever, we've got a perfect pick.
Or like,
Yeah.
I think you'd make
I
a
would
great
love to do
Joanna
that.
Dark
It's true.
Who's that?
in Perfect Dark. Like that would be a really cool.
Yeah,
We're
yet
gonna
again,
find out-
we'd have to start casting either 6 years ago or now if that ever comes out.
I
but-
know,
Yeah.
Derek. I'm just
Let
I'm
him
throwing shit
enjoy
out there. I'm throwing
himself.
shit out there.
You let him enjoy himself every episode. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So are you currently in your personal recording studio?
I am. Yeah.
I
This
just
is my
noticed the soundproofing on the for me the right. It's just
Yeah, that's my
it's a-
door.
It's a very
This is my
nice
microphone.
setup you've got.
It's pretty sweet. It's a 6 foot by 6 foot, fully treated. It's
You've got air conditioning in there, I hope.
No,
No, it interferes
no,
with
because
the.
it picks up
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, it
picks
does.
on a microphone. I do have like
Really?
a Whisper Soft fan, which is why my door is open because there's a Whisper Soft fan right now. But yeah, no, there are days that it gets real hot.
I was gonna say, so like if you're recording in the summer, is it just like, are you just like, oh my god, I can't, I'm gonna die in here, like this is where my life ends, like just like a huge jug of water,
Yeah, ice water and
just
apple juice.
like
Well, and before COVID, I was in my closet. I had a closet space that I had treated, and I was working out of there, and that sucker got real hot. And luckily, a friend of mine was offloading this thing, and I was like, "Can I? I'll take that off your hands." So it's an upgrade for sure. But yeah, there are days that I'm like, "This is where I die. I'm going to die right here." It's been good. It's been real.
At what point in your career were you like, okay, I need to get out of this closet and actually have my own recording studio set up here? Like, I need to
So I did have a studio when I first got into voiceover in 2012. But they're big, they're bulky, they take up a lot of room, and I didn't have space for it when we moved to LA. So I had to get rid of it. And, when I had kids and I had to have a nursery for the kids, whatever.
Oh, they're so needy.
I didn't have space. Yeah. And then as soon as my daughters were like, we want to share a room, I was like, neat, I get an office.
Nice.
So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, basically, the second I got into voiceover, I knew I had to have home recording capabilities. And so when COVID hit, there was a quick stutter step where the industry was like, oh! And then I worked more in 2020 than I did any other time in my life.
I imagine in an unfortunate way, obviously, but I imagine that period was actually good for voiceover work, right? Because everybody's working remotely, you don't have to get up and go anywhere. And so that was probably a really lucrative time for a lot of voice actors, I imagine, right?
It was, and it was also when a lot of celebrities went, I can't do on camera stuff right now. I can do voiceover. And so the first 6 months were insane for workaday voice actors, us blue collar folk, and then it got dried up real fast when all the on camera people were like, I have a home studio now, and I was like, oh shit.
They were like, we can get in on this action too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also saw I feel like a really good, and this is going to be weird, right? Like we all know Twitter sucks. I refuse to call it X. It's
Twitter.
Same.
I refuse to call it X on principle. Because every time I look at my phone and I see the X app, I think it's did I download a porn app and I didn't realize it?
Apartheid Clyde is wrong about everything. So
I'm just like, God, X.com. I'm afraid to type X.com into my browser at work because I'm like, every time I do, I'm like,
mostly because when John types in X, autofill just.
Finn, shut the fuck up. But at any rate, so I actually saw. So I want to say it was a couple of years ago. You had a Twitter following of maybe 9,000. It's almost 30K now. It's been interesting to see as your roles get bigger and bigger. Kind of the more following.
Big part of that is the Owl House. I mean, Owl House, the fandom is John, I said, it's unlike anything I've been a part of.
John, you don't know Owl House. I know you don't. But you should give it a shot.
No, I mean, I've never. I know what it is. I've just never.
I just know it's not your that's not normally your jam. But trust me when I say it could be if you gave it a shot. It's so good.
I mean, I will.
It's only
I'm totally
3 seasons
totally willing to.
we got canned.
My only problem with Owl House is that Lilith character, kind of weak.
Ugh,
Could
the
have
worst.
done without her, but
So we did have some some kind of serious goings on in the industry at large.
You know what? I've got one before we switch over to that, actually.
Go ahead, man. Please.
Because Cissy, you've kind of brought up like celebrity voice actors a couple times, and I'm kind of curious about your perspective on because like this is not like a hot take or controversial position that like celebrity voicing in games and animation is generally like not quite up to par to professional like career voice actors and is crowding a lot of them out of roles. And it's not about saying that these are bad actors, right? But like, I think even from my position, I hear a lot of my favorite actors sometimes show up in animation and games and maybe struggle to captivate me the same way that they do in traditional roles. So I'm kind of curious about your perspective as a voice actor. Like, why do you think that being a talented actor does not necessarily prepare you for mic work?
Because it's a different muscle. I mean, literally, like you do not have the luxury of facial expressions and body language, let alone being in the same room as your co-stars, let alone not having the wardrobe or the scene or background people or anything to react of other than what's in your head. So no, most of them are terrific actors, but in the same way that I could not step onto an on-camera stage and do their job flawlessly, it's, I think, setting a lot of them up for not necessarily failure, but not great performances to just be like, oh, so-and-so is real famous, we should bring him in, you know, like,
yeah,
it's a different muscle. It's a different muscle. And I've said before, you know, I was really nervous when Sean and Jake cast Rich Summer in Firewatch because he was a on-camera guy. You know, he was a Mad Men and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, here we go. But he was fan-fucking-tastic, pardon my French. And, you know, he was somebody that was really up to the challenge of it and brought it in a very real way. But, you know, it's a different beast. It's a different beast.
So I imagine like when you're in the, you know, because like you said, you don't have anybody to like bounce off of, right? Like it's just you and a microphone and a 6x6 room. So you're kind of like in your own little world here. So like, do you have to get really emotive? Like when you're like, do you throw yourself into it? Do you gesture? Do you, like contort your face, how do you like, step into that role fully if it's just you?
Well, listen, number one, you got to make sure your clothes are real fucking quiet. Pardon my French again. I've literally started shopping by being like, is this too loud? No, I can't wear that in the booth. Can't wear jewelry, can't wear anything that'll bang the microphone. But yes, I mean, if you stand there straight right now and say, no, don't do that. Or you go, no, don't do that. You hear it. It's different, right? So yes, we get very active in the booth. We're moving around and, you know, the efforts and stuff that we have to do, we're running and we're, you know, jumping to make it sound real. Because otherwise nobody wants to hear, it just sounds like you're pooping.
Sounds
right?
like you're grunting out a stinky or something. Like,
yeah.
Sean, your euphemisms are killing me, man. Come on.
I'm just saying. Dude, look, that's what my son calls it. Okay, like it's kind of just grown on me.
That is learned behavior.
But it actually sounds. It sounds like voice acting can be a workout.
Yeah, I have left sessions drenched, like head to toe. It is bananas. But it's fun. It's fun and it's weird and it's every day is different and I get to be giant aliens one day and you know, a asshole baby the next, and I love it.
That's awesome. God, that's so cool. I wish I could do something like that for a living. My job sucks.
The ice cream truck that you run in downtown DC.
What's that?
The ice cream truck that you run in downtown DC.
Yeah.
Hello.
Always my favorite euphemism for what you do for a living.
You know, every now and then, you know what just the smiles on the kids' faces though at the end of the day make it all worthwhile. Like it's really, it just fills me with a warm joy that
Some mother's gonna come to you and tell you, "Hey, stop telling my kid about fucking Final Fantasy VI before I call the cops."
listen, kid, do you know about Final Fantasy VI?
Please stop talking to my son about RPGs.
Let me
Sell
tell
him
you about
fucking
this.
ice
I
cream.
was once a young man of 14, just like you, wanting ice cream, and the ice cream man wouldn't shut up about JRPGs, and now here we are. The cycle
Now here we
continues.
You're gonna be like me one day, kid. Ain't you excited for that?
No, Derek, for me, no, like I would at least warn the kid. I'd be like, don't eat ice cream, kid. You want to end up like me? 43, driving an ice cream truck and talking to you about Final Fantasy? Get out of here.
So about Cissy,
Oh, that segue. Wow.
Yeah.
Derek, Derek, why don't we let's talk a little bit about some of the more serious issues.
Yeah,
facing the industry
I'm
right
the
now.
one who tore us away from that topic briefly, but
Yeah, don't
I
blame
did
me,
want
Finn.
to
don't worry, I
wanna
always
bring
will
that
blame
in.
you.
But yeah, we're at a point where in a lot of industries, but especially and very prominently in acting, right? We've seen the actor strikes in Hollywood, in film and television, and we're hearing that SAG-AFTRA is talking about bringing those same strikes to the gaming industry. It sounds like that might be imminent. So, as a voice actor, like what are some of your concerns for the future of your field, based on trends right now?
Well, so let me just say first off, I am not on the negotiating committee, so I don't know the inner workings of all the talks and everything else because they have to keep it on the DL until a deal is made. But what I do know is that what we're asking for is a 11% raise to adjust for inflation because we haven't had a new deal since 2016. So an 11% raise to adjust for inflation, and for the game companies to tell us if they want to use us for AI.
I mean, that seems completely reasonable to me.
That's it. And then
AI
stunt protections for like mocap. They need to have a medical person on site and stuff like that. But that is it. So I don't think it's egregious. I think AI is going to change everybody's life in different ways. And a couple of years ago, I'm just going to launch into my whole AI thing here.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, please.
I think it's everyone's major concern at this point.
Yeah.
If you're paying
And
any
it should be.
attention,
I have a brief anecdote after.
Yeah, hold on to it because I'm going to talk for a minute.
Hold on.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I was messing around on TikTok. I was like, sure, why not? Let's see what this is about. What are the kids doing these days? And I found that a bunch of fans had taken my voice and used it through an AI database to create scenes from the Owl House and have my character say things that I had never said.
What?
I freaked out. I panicked. And I went to the website because they had tagged it. And sure enough, there was my voice. There was my character. There were a couple of my characters. And I panicked. And I got a group of my friends together, a group of other voice actors who I also saw online. And I said, we have to do something. I come from a technology background. I worked in the Silicon Valley for 10 years. And I was like, technology is not moving backwards. It is here. It's out of the bottle. We can't stuff it back in. So how do we work together ethically in a way that doesn't wipe us out and allows the technology to continue? And so we came up with a framework for how we want to see AI and voiceover coexist. And I actually got approached by a company and they said, we love voice actors. We want to help safeguard you guys. Will you help us make this company? And so we've been working for the last 6 months to come up with a deal that benefits the actors, the companies that want to hire us. And for the first time in a very long time, I have hope because they're not just going out and scraping the internet for whatever content is publicly available and feeding it through their machine learning, which is probably going to be a subject of massive lawsuits in the next few months to year. But we actually want to work with the actors directly and help them create a digital model and then help them get work with their digital model in places that they wouldn't normally be in. So we don't want to go after like public facing stuff. I don't think anybody really wants to hear Joel as AI in The Last of Us 19.
I don't think anybody wants that.
No, but it is a very real concern. It is something that is going to touch every aspect of humanity, and we better figure out how to work with it. So that's it. And the things that we're asking for, again, not insane. Consent. Let me know that you're turning me into a fucking robot.
Yeah.
Or like ask me, do you want to be a fucking robot? Let me say which projects I will or will not work on. Control. Let me say which projects I will or will not work on. And compensation. Pay me.
Yeah.
You're going to take my voice. That's my moneymaker. I make my entire living right here. So pay me. Not crazy.
So that can't, I am actually stunned that you would have to bring a lawsuit at all, because you would figure anyway, and I'm speaking as a layman who knows nothing about this stuff, I would figure though that your voice is your property, right? It's your own intellectual property. it
is not copyrightable. Your voice is not copyrightable. There are only 2 states in the union that recognize right of publicity that include voice. That is New York and California. Everybody else doesn't give a hoot. And we have spoken with the Office of Copyright about getting voice added to biometric data, because right now it's not. Even though your bank can call you and say, "This is Cissy Jones. My voice is my password." Don't try calling my bank. Don't do that. But it is not currently included in the definition of biometric data. So it is not copyrighted.
That's wild. Even though voice activated locks and stuff have been a thing for ages.
Yep. And here's the other thing. The companies that are doing that are taking that information and uploading it, are hiding under Section 230, which is the Facebook defense. Our users uploaded it and they said they owned it. Sorry. And they're not taking any responsibility. No, that's not fair. Most of the companies are not taking any responsibility for the unethically obtained content that has been uploaded. Some have created blacklists when we've reached out and said, you don't have my consent, take it down. UberDuck was really great about that, and FakeU.ai was really great about that. But everybody else, I got the equivalent of a digital middle finger.
Wow. Cissy, this is the stuff that's really scary in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because somebody with a grudge against any of us could, use AI to simulate our voice saying something like a death threat or a racial slur.
You know how long it takes to clone your voice?
Not
your outgoing
long at
voicemail
all.
message.
Yeah.
That's
it.
wild.
Hey, John, how many hours of you podcasting on the internet is there at this point?
And that's the thing. Anything that's publicly available right now, they're using.
Yeah.
You podcast, your voice is out there. You've ever done an interview on Instagram, your voice is out there. You're in a video game, you're in an animated show. You fucking, I don't know, have videos on Facebook with your friends or something. Right. Your voice is out there.
God forbid you're a local weatherman or something.
That actually segues perfectly into my thing, which is just I have friends in the industry that will travel and do anime conventions or conventions in general. And it used to be you could go up and they'd be more than happy to record a video for your friends or do your voicemail. But now they're not scared, but they're so apprehensive because there's no guarantee that you're just not. You could say this video is for my friend, but there's no guarantee that you're not just going to take it and run it through a filter and then dupe their voice. And so it becomes like a thing where you can't even. The talent can't trust the fans that they're at the own show to see something that used to be so really innocuous and fun. A really cool interaction. I used to love getting videos for friends that couldn't make the convention of someone like you making fun of them not being able to be here as your character.
Making fun of them for not knowing you're in Starfield.
It's gonna be great.
Stuff like that.
But it's a very real problem, and that's such a tangible moment of that, because it's something that used to be so innocuous and fun for fans now is something that you as a talent have to be cagey and careful about. And then you don't want to come off as being a jerk. No, I'm sorry, I can't do your voicemail because I don't know you and I have no guarantee that you're not going to, run my voice through an AI filter. It sucks.
So the good that has come out of this is that I have started working with a group called the National Association of Voice Actors, or NAVA. NAVA was originally created because we lost one of our own during COVID, Brad Venable, and the people who were closest to him started a scholarship foundation in his name, and they raised a ton of money, and they were like, well, this is all going on our taxes, we should start a 501c3. So they started a 501c3 in order to raise money for voice actors who were struggling, and help them pay their bills. Like literally during COVID, they paid for like electricity bills. And then they also found a way to get healthcare available for voice actors who don't qualify under SAG. Now, they came out in November of 2022, kind of right as we were doing all of the like AI discussions, and Tim Friedlander, who is amazing, like the kindest, most genuine soul on this planet, was like, you should come under the 501c3. At least we'll have some protections, and you can be a steering committee. And so we have, but then he has run with it. He started consulting with attorneys who created a digital writer for us. So any job that we do, we can download, any single human on the planet can download this digital writer that says, you do not have my permission to take my session recordings and run them through machine learning. You do not have my permission to create a digital double of my voice. You have to store it safely as possible. And if you are going to do it, you need to talk to me, and we need to create, whatever. But it's free to any single person on the planet. So the non-union world, who is honestly the most tip of the spear right now, can use that whether they're NAVA members or not. We've also, been talking with legislators. We've gone to Ted Lieu's office. We've gone to AOC's office. We've gone to Adam Schiff's office. We're, talking about going to Congress. Like, we are actively working in every way, shape, and form to advocate on behalf of voice actors, because, the union has its own stuff and voice acting is a small part of it. And so we were like, you know what? No one's gonna save us. We have to be the ones to do it.
Well, and so like as things stand right now, could is it so bad that a developer could say, we think Cissy Jones would be a perfect fit for this role, but why hire Cissy Jones when we can just clone her voice? And
yeah, you think it's not happening?
Right.
You
I
think
mean,
it's not?
how many times have you heard like the executives say, like, that's why they're so cagey about AI, is that
that's why you were in Tactics Ogre Reborn.
That's why we're going to strike, because they won't say, we will tell you if we want to use AI.
right? They'll just
It should be so easy to do that if they were operating in good faith.
I have a contract that I've been trying to get through the union, that I can come to them and say, if you do want to use us as an AI asset, here's a contract. Just let's do this. Everybody wins, but it's really difficult, especially when you have the larger AI database companies who are getting all kinds of funding for stealing content that's out there and not notifying, not paying, and certainly not giving any control over how their voice is used. So ask me if I get salty about it.
Well.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, go ahead, man.
Yeah, so obviously, like, the people at the top of a lot of these giant corporations and a lot of the people who are running like the services that are doing the machine learning have a lot of potential profit in it for them to exploit, the voices of actors, in a completely amoral sense. But what do you think is driving the sort of regular, or do you think that there even are regular like AI evangelist types who do not necessarily have a direct financial stake in? Because it sure seems like there's X amount of people out there who just think everything AI driven is the future, even if it seems like dog shit.
I mean, look at NFTs a year ago, 2 years ago, right? It's the buzzword. Everybody's talking about it. ChatGPT this and OpenAI that and 11 Labs this. It's buzzy, and it is a really powerful tool, and I think it can be used for good. But there has to be guardrails. And right now, our legislation is so woefully behind the technology. There's nothing. And then to have the White House come out and say like, well, we have the titans of tech in to tell us how they're going to monitor themselves for AI. And I'm like, you just told the wolf to watch itself in front of the hen house.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
So you said you had a background in, in Silicon Valley prior to voice acting. So you've kind of seen up close and personal. Let me find the right way to phrase this. What do you think is it about like the Silicon Valley tech sector that drives this like unique strain of sort of techno-libertarian, like
move fast and break things?
Yeah.
That's their whole mantra. Move fast and break things. Right?
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, that's benefited us in society a whole lot. You know, that's how we have things like the interwebs and iPhones and, you know, name technological advancement thing, you know, insert here. The problem is that it then sets the rest of society up on the back foot. Oh God, we have to catch up. You know, it's a reactionary model. And instead of being like, hey, I've got this technology that's going to change the world, maybe let's figure out how to put a leash on it so that the worst of us don't get a hold of it and make it worse for everybody. It's just like, nah, release it to the world, make $1 million, make $1 billion, and ride off into the sunset and fuck everybody else. So it's really challenging. And I'm not saying everybody in the Silicon Valley is like that.
No, of course not.
Not by a long shot. But it gets really challenging when, you know, you have these people who are just driven by making money, and they don't care how they go about it, and they don't care who dies in their wake. The thing that has been really interesting to me is as I've been talking about this to so many people, I have literally been on a global roadshow to talk to actors and agents and, you know, casting directors and everybody about how to safeguard yourself. Developers, people are like, oh my God, it's so nice to see somebody standing up and saying something. We're all too scared, you know, and everybody has been running around like their hair's on fire, right? But nobody has sat down to say, how do I put the fire out? How do I contain the fire? And so to have like this little ragtag group of voice actors be like, we're going to go to Congress. At least we're trying, if we can afford the lobbyists. You know, it's been really helpful for a lot of our peers who are not necessarily voice actors, but voice directors, sound engineers, studio owners, because they all stand to lose. It's not just us. All the recording studios that are going to go out of business, all the sound editors that are going to go out of business, all the casting directors, all of the voice directors, you know what I mean? So, and let alone in other industries. So it's, you know, people are ready to rally around a cause, and I'm happy to be it.
Yeah.
That's the AI heard us talking and booted me, but don't worry, I'm back.
You know, you kind of brought up earlier that Nava is you know, trying to find ways to benefit like non-union voice actors as well.
Yeah.
And something that I've noticed, and I don't have an answer for, maybe you can kind of help shine a light on this, is it seems like voice acting as an industry is so much less union dominated than like film and television are for the most part.
Yeah.
And you see, for example, like, you know, publishers like Nintendo will use union casts on one project and then use a completely non-union cast on the next project. And that, you know, from where I'm a little bit more educated in the world of like the union in film and television, right? Like that's the sort of stuff that gets the union and union actors to not work with you. What is kind of going on with like the state of acting like in, you know, gaming and animation, and why that's so different, if you have any insight into that at all?
Oh, I do. I think first and foremost, voiceover is kind of the redheaded stepchild of the acting industry.
I would agree.
It's gotten some more respect in the last 10 years with things like The Last of Us and you know, Uncharted and stuff like that. But video games in particular are still considered like that newfangled thing. So there's that. it's also real easy for voice actors to work off the card. Wow, she sure sounds like me. Weird, right? You can't prove it if I do it under a fake name, which so many people do. And when video games were coming up, the union thought it was a passing fad. And so they did not create contracts that would benefit us as it grew. And we are now playing catch up. And also, a lot of companies just went, fuck you. I don't want to work on your contract. Your rates are shit. Your terms are shit. I've got a huge stable of people over there that will do it for half the price and no back end pay. Bye.
Wow.
That is so fucking dire.
Do you think that situation is impacted by the, and I worry this is going to come across as too harsh to the people I'm talking about, and I don't mean it as a slam against them, but legions of people who think of themselves as like potential voice actors because they are fans, because they are passionate about gaming or animation, and they think, well, if I can get a mic and a setup, that can be me.
That's honestly, those are the people I'm most worried about with AI. I think the people who are working right now will continue to work in some form or fashion. Certainly not in the heyday, right? It will be a different kind of work, but it will take away the entry level work. Additional voices, bye. Dubbing, gone, right? All of the stuff that nobody really wants to do, AI, done. So all of the stuff that I cut my teeth on, all of the stuff that, Jen Hale cut her teeth on, and Matt Mercer cut his teeth on, it's gone. It's gone. And so that's why our fight is everybody's fight, right? Now, if you're talking about like, I have a computer and I can go in my bathroom and record lines and I'll get hired on a thing. Yeah, sure, you might. Yeah. But if it's not solid, if it's not quality, if you show up to a session and you can't hold what you did in the audition, or you're not a skilled actor and you can't take direction, you probably won't work much. So if you want to be a voice actor, you train, and then you train some more, and then you spend more money and you train a little bit longer, and then you have to get, there's some people are inherently great at it and they will find success, and that's awesome. And some people will think that there's a magic pill that's overnight and cheap, and I promise it's not.
But is that
I took 2 years, and that's considered fast from when I started taking classes to when I got an agent.
Wow. I thought you were going to say, I took 2 pills. And all overnight, was, like, it doubled my success.
It's not a magic pill; it's 2 magic pills.
Yeah. So yeah.
Like, how bad is it really right now? Because I know that
it sounds pretty fucking dire, dude. Like,
it's not
I'm not even
yet.
just talking like.
But that's the problem, right? It's not bad yet, but if you don't act now, it'll be too late when it is.
Well, like, for example,
we let the terms of the strike slide on by.
Well, to kind of underscore what you said, Cissy, like somebody in chat said, I'll never forget that Life is Strange used a different VO on the game because Ashley Birch was supporting the strike. And
me too. They recast me in that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, this is where John goes, wait, you were in Life is Strange?
I knew she was in
I was Joyce.
Yeah.
John, did you know that?
I did know that, actually.
He didn't actually.
I've never played the Life is Strange games. I probably should, but I did know that you were in Life is Strange.
So the sad thing about that, and I was actually talking with Katie Benz the other week, who was in the non-union game that came out, was that they found a bunch of kids fresh out of college, 18, moved to LA with stars in their eyes, struggling actors, and said, "Hey kid, you want to be in a big video game?" And they didn't tell them that it was a struck project. They didn't tell them that they were getting recast, that they were recasting someone else because of a strike. And so when the game came out, these poor fucking kids got trolled left, right, and center for being scabs when they knew nothing about it, which is also really shady.
Like, took advantage of the inexperience and naivete of
young,
passionate
and then everybody,
people.
And then everybody who doesn't know this is like, oh, these fucking kids came in and just took these roles over. These fucking assholes, just when really the truth is that they don't know this, and it's a scummy practice all around. And does stuff like this have like a studio, for example, saying, oh, well, you want to support the strike? Well, fuck you, we'll recast your role. Like, it's no skin off our ass.
Yep.
Does this have a cooling effect on voice actors who are like, I support this stuff, like, but at the same time I've got a family to feed and I don't want to lose any roles, or I can't afford
That's
to lose
going to be the
roles.
hard part. That's going to be the hard part, is that again, with voiceover, it's real easy to cross the picket line, do it under a fake name. The difference this time rather than last time is that everybody's scared about AI.
Yeah.
And the non-union contracts, you guys, they are scary. They are scary.
Yeah.
So everybody's scared.
It seems like in
the thing about having a union contract, if it's a union contract, they have attorneys. They find out that your voice has been taken and put into some other project, the union attorneys go after.
That's
non-union, you have to hire attorneys on your own. You are on your own. Because you sign a thing that says they own everything in perpetuity throughout the known universe in any technology now existing or to be developed. That is the exact verbiage.
It feels a lot like there's still areas where maybe like SAG-AFTRA needs to do better by the voice acting industry.
Sure.
But like, it seems like the solution to that is not like, it can't be to like go away from the union, but like that the union needs to do better by this corner of acting. Because those kind of protections are super necessary for, I mean, as predatory as the industry is. I always try to tell folks, like, the big gaming companies are not anyone's friends.
Yeah.
These are corporate entities and their job is to extract money from labor. So
yeah.
I think
I really want the union to do better. I'm working hard at helping a lot of things pass. And I have friends who are on committees there who are busting their asses for free. And there's a lot that can be done. And there's a lot of red tape to get through, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
Where do you see this ending, Cissy? Like, I mean, with the advent of AI and like, and I think that as much as we all hate it, like AI is going to have a place in this space, right? Like it's, I like at this point, it's as much as we all loathe it, it's probably unavoidable.
It's not going anywhere.
What's that?
It's not going. It's going to get more prolific and easier to use. What I personally would like to see, and again, I'm not on the negotiating committees. I don't know what they're asking for. What I would love to see is on any production, union or not, there has to be at least 80 or 90% human actors, writers, whatever, editors, and then use AI for the last 10%. That's me pie in the sky. I don't know if that's being discussed, but it's not going away and it can be a powerful tool. Ashley Birch, I did a panel with Ashley Birch at San Diego Comic-Con and she was like, it's great if I'm stuck on a name when I'm writing, I'll just chat GPT. Do you have any ideas for this? And it'll spit out a name and it's like, great, here we go. I think it can be really useful if it's done right.
I'm sure it can be. I think like what I envision is, okay, like let's say X developer comes to you and says, we would really love to have you voice X role, right? It's a small role, but it's a role. But we also know that you are tied down with other things. You're very busy. What if would you allow us to use your voice and replicate it using AI? I imagine hearing like, I couldn't do it because like, if I were to hear that played back to me, like I think it might mentally break me to hear my voice, but knowing but it's coming out of some computer's brain and not my own. Like, is there a sense of like, this is like, it's almost like I'm dissociating from myself, or, like it sounds like me, it's not me. And that's really bothering me on a metaphysical level. Like here's
the thing. If I know they're going to do that, if we have gone over a contract, they've agreed to pay me appropriately, They're not going to put any stuff in there that are things I wouldn't agree to: homophobia, racism, sexism, etc. I'm okay with it if the contract is ironclad. But that's what happened to me on TikTok. Was I heard my voice saying things that I never said, and some of them were not things I ever want my kids to hear, right? And I flipped out. But again, if I have an agreement with the studio, we have an ironclad contract, I know how it's going to be used and how I'm going to be paid, and there's a way to track how much it's used and how much I'm going to be paid, sure, let's do it.
With your TikTok situation, like, you know what it sounds like to me? That sounds like, it almost sounds like a violation, right? Because it's like, it's like, this is...
There's a reason we call it consent.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like, you need my permission. No, you need my consent, because it is very violating to have my labor of love taken and bastardized in a machine to spit out words that you think are funny without asking me, without anything. It's incredibly violating.
Yep. It's like
violating.
I imagine it almost feels like somebody's taking agency away from you, taking a part of you that, you know, I mean, your voice, right? Like your voice, taking that away from you and then just automating it. Like, that's a scary idea. Like, it's not just a like a feeling of violence. It's scary.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and to think that in just a few short years, this is how far that technology has come. Because, I mean, 2 or 3
I gotta
years
tell you, in the next 3 to 6 months, it's gonna double.
Yeah.
Like, the ability of it is gonna, I've seen where the future is going, and if we don't get something in place,
the machine's getting stronger, and once they figure out how to do hands properly, it's over. Like,
hands and teeth.
Right now, they can't do hands and teeth. Right. Right now, you look at a picture of, like, all these, Biden on and the hands are like,
it's all cool until you actually look at it too.
Yeah, it looks like Mothman hands. Like it's like, okay, well, this isn't real, right? Like, your hands look like spaghetti. But it feels like just a year ago, I was horrifying Derek with that Will Smith eating spaghetti AI video. And it's just
it wasn't even, it was like a still image that was just like, it was like bad face app stuff. It wasn't even the same. But this is
now, like, I have seen AI videos and heard AI, like, I can't tell the difference between what's real and what's fake.
It's kind of you go ahead.
Sorry. I am also working with another company that is making tracking technology to be able to track your voice usage.
That's
and
cool.
Find it, even if it has been blended. Because that's the other thing a lot of them are doing, is taking 20 voices and smooshing them together and creating a new voice. But they're creating tracking technology to identify AI versus real, and if my voice is being used without my consent.
Yeah. Do you think this is where the industry wants to go? Like, do you think the industry wants to
How do you
eventually?
I think the suits do. Because it's cheaper for them. I think everybody else is terrified as hell.
I think something that gives me a little hope, at least. I remember relatively recently, I don't remember how much, maybe a couple months ago, kind of famously, Erica Lindbeck had kind of a very public, like, hey, I'm she was really, really fucking sick of people using, voice of her characters and making it, sing songs she hadn't done, or like say lewd things that she didn't say. And she ended up getting into enough of a scrap with, like, AI evangelists fighting back, that she deactivated social media for a while. But we also saw legions of people coming out in support and being like, this shit is gross. And does it feel like more people are starting to catch on to, like, how this is harmful to actors? Here's the thing you have to remember,
is that yes, and also the piler honors, while some are real, there's a lot of bots.
Yeah.
And of course they are there to provocate or provoke. Provocate? Whatever.
I think you can use either.
They're provocateurs. But they're there to to push buttons, right? And so there's that piece. Also, she was incredibly gentle with the way that she went about it. She was like, hey guys,
she could have gone way
I
harder.
appreciate this is fun, but I need you to understand why this is hurtful to me. And those fucking, I'm sorry, I'm swearing like a trucker on this. They went
That's what we do to
after
people.
her, and it was awful. It was really awful. And also, her husband had just died, and it was like that woman has been through the fucking ringer. Since then, and yes, there were a lot of people that came out and said, you know, hey guys, come on, this is not cool. And so now when we do, you know, these global town halls, and a lot of fans, thankfully, are saying, like, what can we do? How can we help? Stand up. If you see something like that happen, don't let it fly. Call it out. You know, don't be like, hey man, that's a cool video. You know, and yes, a lot of fans are really interested in being on the side of the actors, and especially because a lot of them want to be actors. And again, as I was talking about before, it's all the entry-level jobs that are going to go away.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, all you're going to be left with is like AI Troy Baker and AI Jen Hale, you know, if we don't do something. And not that they're not terrific. They're amazing actors.
Right.
But the lifeblood of this industry is new people coming in and trying new things, you know?
You wouldn't have people like Kaiji Tang blowing up, you know, in the last couple years if there weren't like the opportunities for, you know, newer and you know, less tested, less popular voices getting in.
I think the one thing that gives me hope about this is that I will say this every day for the rest of my life, because I believe it's true. There are simply performances out there by talented voice actors that cannot be replicated by AI, no matter how hard they try, no matter like, and I think a really good, very recent example of that would be like Ben Starr's performance as Clive in Final Fantasy 16, which was raw and emotional, and you know, and like his father had recently died, and so like he channeled that pain and that hurt and poured it into that role, and it's one of the rawest, most emotional voice acting performances I've ever heard, and I simply refuse to believe that a machine could replicate that. Like I simply refuse to believe it. And
not yet, but it's not far.
Yeah, that asterisk has to stay there, because we didn't think we'd be here.
I don't want to believe it
ago.
either. I don't want to believe it either, but it's not far. It's 3 to 6 months. Maybe
so how do we rise up
that
against
close,
the machine,
huh?
really is what we're talking about at this point.
We have to get legislation. We have to get legislation. And honestly, the thing that does give me hope is that it's a bipartisan issue. And some of the biggest supporters are Josh Hawley and Marsha Blackburn, who are not exactly people I want to go sit in front of.
I don't like being on the same side as Josh Hawley most of the time, but like, I guess I'll take it in this instance.
Hey, at least he's not running.
You know what? It's basically like that meme where it's like the worst person you know had a good point.
Heartbreaking.
Like,
yeah. And like,
but also
when it comes to Josh Hawley, it's
massive,
extremely heartbreaking.
Yeah. The EU just passed a massive piece of legislation around it. It's called the EU AI bill, and now it's on the floor and they're hammering it out. And you know, quite frankly, and maybe this is me just being idealistic, but I feel like we're marching into a post-late stage capitalistic world where people are finally starting to realize there's more of us than there are of them. And like, maybe making $400 million for a fucking bonus doesn't make you a good person, and maybe you should share the wealth a little bit.
This has been a rough couple years for the mythology of you know, the billionaires being there because they're supposed to be. You know, we
all
opened.
I gotta say is Team Orca.
Yeah. We opened this segment up talking about how, you know, the acting strikes are really only one of many strikes that are either, you know, industry strikes that are ongoing, or like we're hearing about like union auto workers, right, are getting ready to strike potentially.
Marvel. Did you see the Marvel?
Yeah, the VFX.
I did hear that.
Yes.
And I heard that Disney's signing up, like the Disney VFX ones are like just organizing to vote as well to join.
Yeah.
Great. And we've been
like
trying for a long time to get Game Workers United, which is a
Yeah.
game developer union, and a couple of studios have signed on to that.
Seen like
You know?
QA at like some of the Activision Blizzard owned studios, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
if there's an industry that desperately needs more unionization, it's the games industry. I mean, look
Yes.
at all the studio layoffs and closings just this week alone.
To which I will say, Larian Studios has been so good to their people. I mean, they pushed their launch back by like a year, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And they gave like a really long lead time to test it. One of my dearest friends works there, and he's like, he came from Telltale, which was, as
The
we all
opposite
know,
of that.
the devil.
Hmm.
And he's just like, I've never been part of a company like this. They actually care. They treat us well. They give us time off for a job well done. Like, it's so. Go
Well, and that's
Larian,
a great
more,
point.
please.
Like
You could
it's
say
not.
Telltale really was the wolf among us.
Shut up.
Shut the
Larian,
fuck up, Finn.
God damn it. Like there are studios out there that are really good at this. It's good to hear that Larian is one of them. Two other like studios that are known to treat their people very well and not use crunch are Insomniac and Nintendo. Like like Insomniac has flat out said we don't do crunch.
Nintendo of Japan, at least. Nintendo of America is a very different beast, but
yeah.
But
I mean there are studios out there that don't do this to their people. And look, Insomniac does it, and they're like, we don't do crunch. And look, we're putting out banger ass games. It can be done, guys. And but I mean, this is like it all kind of funnels, like this little river funnels into an ocean of a bigger conversation that is essentially, we need more unions. The games industry, and I feel like this week, combined with everything we've just been talking about, just puts a giant exclamation mark on the end of that.
Who shut down this week?
So the other week Volition closed.
Yeah.
Which one?
Volition, they made the Saints Row game.
Yeah. I know. I worked with them on something.
Yeah, Embracer shut them down.
Gearbox got like half laid off and is looking to get sold off.
Ubisoft just closed their London studio a few hours ago.
Are you shitting me?
Nope.
Yeah.
Wow. I knew Ubi was in trouble.
A major one of the EA studios, I don't remember the name, but they just did that Immortals of Avium. Is they got hit with like a shitload of layoffs, right? They're not shut down, but like half the studio's gone.
And the Ubisoft thing literally just happened hours ago.
Yeah. I have a perfect segue. I've got it. We're in the perfect space
writing on a segue in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?
No. No, but speaking of horrible corporate like top-led greed, let's talk about Unity.
Ironically, something the game industry could use more of.
Yes, absolutely. Horribly ironically named. So, for those who are not familiar, Unity is a company and also the name of a major game engine that's used for a ton of game development, a ton of independent game development especially. It's often been seen as one of the more like approachable, along with like Unreal Engine, ways to get into game development even as a small studio. Unity just proposed and they've since walked back, but like not really, a major change in their terms of service that would basically, the long and the short of it is it would be an untraceable black box in the engine that tracked individual installs of games, and would, over a certain number of installs, charge the developers of said games for each install. Was it like 20 cents per install? I think I want to say it was.
But then it doesn't differentiate, like if you uninstall a game and reinstall it, they count that as
that's
a second
two.
install.
So that's two separate charges. It applies retroactively. So once you pass like 200,000 installs, then the whole thing applies retroactively back to install one. And the terms of service that they're presenting are intended to be retroactive, meaning even games running Unity or built on Unity that were published and released years ago will suddenly fall under these rules and will owe Unity a ton of money.
Do they hate their users?
Apparently,
it's a really bonehead decision.
Baffling, and then the insider trading aspect where the guy in charge of Unity,
CEO John Riccitiello, formerly of EA, John Riccitiello, formerly we should charge users $1 per reload in Battlefield. $1 of real world money per, right. This guy is now in charge of Unity, but sold off thousands of shares just before this announcement. So like, I'm glad that insider trading can just happen in public. A lot of people have weighed in. We've seen a lot of indie studios that normally do not do a lot of like, studios like Crab, very famously put out, big public responses. The studio whose name I can't remember behind Slay the Spire put out a big like response that was like, this shit needs to change or we're not going to use Unity. Like, and then ended it with like, we don't make public statements. This is how you fucked up.
Yeah.
Devolver put out that statement that was like, hey, if you're gonna pitch to us, like, let us know what engine you're using.
Yeah, like publishers are now like because here's the thing, like smaller devs, and I'm sure they meant this as like a positive, but like smaller devs are like, we just got signed to Game Pass, like this is gonna fuck us. They're like, oh no, we're not gonna charge you, we're gonna charge Microsoft. Publisher. So now like they're gonna say like, no, now Microsoft, Nintendo, and PlayStation are gonna have to front the bill. So like, how's that going to impact the games that they choose for their
indies will be done.
Yeah,
indie games. That's the thing.
Like I just posted a link of all the games that use Unity, and it's like every major indie game you could think of for the past decade, including a small one you might have heard of called Pokemon Go uses Unity. So
yeah, I was gonna say there's multiple Pokemon games on
Go,
that list.
Genshin Impact,
and Honkai Star Rail, which are
like
massive
all the major
games right now.
Like gotcha games that are live and breathe off of getting all these installs, and suddenly it's absolutely, I don't understand. Like I understand it's called greed, but like how did you possibly think? And then they keep trying to walk it back and be like, no, like I swear it'll only impact a small amount of our people, but like you're talking about something that will drive people away from your program and your platform and just impact the devs that can barely afford the hit. Like it's crazy.
This is the same thing as like the streamers taking all of these like small indie stuff off of their platforms. You're going to kill the indie hit. You're going to kill the cult classic.
Yeah.
Like
indies thrived in that kind of environment, and they're just not happening anymore.
Well, what you're going to here's the thing. It's actually even stupider than that. Stupider's not a word really, but I already said it.
That's close enough, man. Yeah, just roll with it.
It's late. It's been a long day. It's even worse than that. Because you're not actually going to kill indie development. You're just going to drive it all to Unreal Engine, because Unreal is also free to use up to a certain revenue amount, after which they take X% of revenue past that threshold, right?
And
which is
Epic,
like,
right?
Yeah, that's Epic. And they're real aggressive with trying to get Unreal into the hands of indies. They offer sweetheart deals to people publishing on the Epic Game Store. So like, it's not like Unity does not have tough competition that is already very popular. It's wild. Wow. Rami Ismail put out a really excellent thread outlining kind of like...
Oh, I saw that. That was good.
Everything Rami does is excellent.
Oh yeah, Rami's a good guy and brilliant. But like, everything they're walking back still does not get over the fact that there is an untraceable black box in the engine that just harvests. Like, how are they determining and registering installs? Right? What about your phone, your computer, your game console? Are they tracking in order to verify? Like, what are they getting access to in order to verify those installs? Right? It's a major user privacy question there, that they are not giving devs the ability to understand. There's no transparency there. As long as this is something like they've already tried once to apply this retroactively to people which I don't think legally you can probably do. You can't just delete your TOS off the website and put a new one up and say the old one doesn't count. I'm sure they'd be willing to try on that. But like, they can walk it back and say, well, actually it's going to be this amount or at this threshold. But at the core of it, this is a company that famously has thrived off of independent gaming, really trying to nickel and dime the small developers to death.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Very
stupid.
So
like this is the same thing. Like, why go after the little people?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
in
chat, this is just a sad one. Is Bobo said that Silksong's developer liked their tweet about Silksong being delayed so that they can switch engines now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Why
sad.
wouldn't you?
A lot of developers are saying, hey, if we don't get like immediate full walk back and clarification and protection of our old terms of service soon, we're going to have to put the work in to leave this engine for good.
Well, and so this is the one positive about the situation is that I have seen developers and publishers stand together in unison like I don't think I've ever seen before on this one, right? Like big and like big, like everyone from big devs to like little indie devs are basically standing up and telling Unity with one voice, go fuck yourself.
I actually don't think I've seen a single...
We will straight up delay our fucking game. We'll pull our game from the store to move it to a different engine if we have to. Fuck you. And others are just daring them to do it. Like, come try to get, like, there was one that somebody put in chat. It was Sam, actually. Sam said, In Exile, a Microsoft-owned studio basically made a post saying, go ahead and try to bill us. Like, and this is one of those things where, I mean, one, the walk back has already happened, as we stated, but guys, I think it's too late. Like I want that now that this is out there, doesn't matter how much Unity walks it back.
I feel like you've shaken the trust, and I think even if they fully walked it back, right, and wrote in protections for the existing terms of service for people who are currently on it, I think everybody currently working on Unity projects, at best, most of them finish their project and then don't come back, right? They switch over to other engines, they develop their own engines. You know, they go to Unreal.
They immediately start working on an Unreal patch as soon as the game comes out, and then that's their V2. Yeah, and then they delete the one from Unreal.
Well, you know, like I liken it to I liken the situation to, like, you know, let's say you catch your significant other in somebody else's DMs, right? And they're like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. Like, you know, I made a terrible mistake."
Okay, now I see where we're going.
I was really
confused for a minute.
It's never going to happen again. Yeah. That's great, but you can't ever really trust that person again.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I don't know how any developer,
trust is far easier broken than built.
I don't know how any developer could possibly trust Unity going forward after this. Like, this is company breaking stuff. Like I was telling Derek earlier today, we're on the phone kind of mapping out our Thursday talk, as we always do. And I was like, you know, this has to be the biggest bungle I have seen in this industry in 20 years.
You can usually find at least 3 village idiots in support of anything on the Bird site, and I've not seen a single person who thinks that this is anything short of disastrous.
Think about the fucking hubris it takes to say...
Well, all you need to know is that the guy sold all his shares.
Yeah, exactly. Even the CEO thought it was a bad idea.
Yeah, he was like, like, you know, and that when I saw that, when that news broke shortly after, like, I just fucking lost it. I was like, it just made me think of, you know, it's that meme, like, you know, I may have done a little light insider trading. You know, like, I mean, that guy is in a world of fucking hurt. And
John Riccatello.
Spare a thought for Unity's PR team, because none of this is their fault.
Yeah.
And this is something that, well, and like, spare a thought for people at Unity. I guarantee you the rank and file at Unity were like, guys, this is a bad fucking idea, and we really should not do this.
We're hearing that a ton of developers at Unity, right, on the inside, who actually helped design the game engine, and you know, software engineers and etc., were like, hey, don't do this. And we're just walked over and ignored. So it's not a popular move inside the company either. It sounds like this is just a bunch of dipshit C-suite executives chasing monetization. Right, I know. I've never met somebody in a C-suite position who I thought could tie their own shoes. It's really incredible.
I've met some good ones. I have. There are a few.
You're lucky,
man. It is. That's what I was saying.
Of big companies, I'll say that. Like, not.
Well, I mean, there's literally studies that say, like, in order to run a big company, in order to be a CEO of a major company, you have to be a sociopath. And it's proven out time and time and time and time again.
I will say,
good old Johnny Ricky's definitely a sociopath.
The only CEO in the entire country that I actually greatly admire is the CEO of Progressive Insurance. My wife works for Progressive, and the CEO is a woman. She's considered to be one of the most...
Keep my wife employed, please.
Yeah. But no, she's one of the most she's considered to be one of the most powerful women in the world, and she started as a claims auditor. And
awesome.
And well, I'm sorry, before that, she was a secretary, and she is now the CEO of Progressive Insurance. So that's the only CEO of anything that I have any respect for whatsoever.
Now in 10 years, she will be like hunting the last surviving polar bear, just for its trophy. But I mean, that's just what happens when you stay up there for that long.
Yeah, that's pretty raw, though. You know.
But yeah, I like. Do you guys think, like, honest to God, do you think that this is the end for Unity?
I think sadly it's the end. I don't think it can ever be the end for Unity.
I don't know if it's
but I think it would require almost a total leadership change out for people to regain trust again, especially with the knowledge that it's basically just a C-suite thing. What's fucked up is this is not the end of John Riccitiello. Because this is not the first time we've gone through this with him.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, he drove EA into the fucking ground, and he, like so many CEOs, failed up into another tech company, and he's going to end up leaving Unity within the next couple of years, I bet you, after all this. These guys are like and he'll just end up in another one.
Who was the guy? Don Matrick.
Don
Matrick. Who is
MVP of like,
if you can't afford an Xbox, we have a console for you. It's called the Xbox 360.
Incredible, bro.
Incredible. I'll never forget, as a veteran, when he was talking about like, they were like, well, what about veterans who play video games, like, you know, in other parts of the world, and you know, they can't, you know, and he's like, well, you know, what are they on a nuclear sub or something? Like, I get it if you're on a nuclear sub. You know, like, I suppose you can't play an Xbox, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're online there because you're on a nuclear sub. And this interviewer is just like, what the fuck are you talking about? But that guy left Xbox after he almost ended them, went to Zynga, almost destroyed Zynga, and who knows where he is now. But like, it's like Bobby Kotick, right? Like, these guys are locusts. They're locusts. They stick around, and they're mummies. They live forever. Like, these guys are just fucking, like, Ike Perlmutter is, you know, the former CEO of Marvel, and he was the guy. Ike Perlmutter was the guy who, when they replaced Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle, was like, "We'll just pay Don Cheadle 50% less because nobody's going to tell. Nobody's going to be able to tell." That's Ike Perlmutter. And this guy,
famously similar looking dudes, Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle.
Wow.
And Ike Perlmutter, friends with a certain former president. I don't think this will shock anyone. Ike Perlmutter is like 92 years old, and he is still he's now the CEO of some other company. And these guys are like cursed mummies. They just move on to another company and pass the curse along.
The kind of good news about this is that, like we were kind of mentioning earlier, we've been living in a really good couple years for dispelling the myth of the brilliance of the tech CEO, right? Like, and stuff like what's going on with Unity is only helping further break down that mythologizing that we do, right? That everybody
once you pissed off, what is it, gamers, you're kind of fucked. You're kind of fucked beyond all belief. That's the thing, right? It's the cyberpunk thing all over again. Look, no one cares about transphobia. Yeah. No one cares about racism. The second that your game has a glitch, fucking, they're gonna come at you, right?
Activates the rank and file, sadly. But yeah,
Xbox
like
exclusive. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. How dare you,
dude? Fuck whatever. That Xbox exclusive could have been developed with, like, you know, the absolute worst crunch in the world. But the second that it goes on a console that they don't have. Fuck. So, what is it? This Unity stuff screws over everyone. Everyone's pissed. Tomorrow we're gonna see some podcaster have a contrarian take. I'm willing to bet you guys. Like,
there's always one court jester.
Boogie's gonna hit us with like a great one. But like but like this is like it, right? Like I think we're slowly. What is it? We're slowly getting to that. Like you said, there, we're getting to that point where like hey, these CEOs aren't our friends. They're fucking us over. Musk is like the final part of like that. You know what I'm saying? I think that's
like
the reason
the
why.
tip of the pyramid at this point.
That's
Of like,
that's the final boss, right? That's like the final boss of like, all right,
if we can
collectively
convince people that Musk is a fucking idiot, if we can finally convince that last like 15% of people, the whole thing comes crumbling down. So
I'll never
I
forget
feel like
10
he
years
has
ago when
been
everybody was
the
like,
best
man,
agent of his own demise.
Elon Musk is
yes.
like, he's like, what if Tony Stark was real? And now it's like, yeah, he's just like, what if Tony Stark was real and he had like fetal alcohol syndrome? Like that's who Elon Musk is. He's the world's history's greatest
You know what?
of-
Tony Stark had the decency to only be like a regular alcoholic and not be like dropping ketamine before getting on investor calls.
I just, God, every time somebody says that man's name, I just get mad.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Is we've seen repeatedly, like, whether it's the like corporate suits or the, you know, the tech sector guys for a long time were trying to push this idea of being like kind of alt. You know what I mean? Of like, we're different, we're younger, we're edgier, we're more in tune with the culture. Like, I can name drop Warhammer 40K, and it's like, I think that took the
What's that?
You know, a certain brand. I don't, John.
We're not getting into that. We're not doing this. Just go.
But like, it gave a little extra mileage to some of these folks, but that is not saving them from, like you said, Cissy, being kind of agents of their own demise, and all of the greed and all of the incredibly stupid decisions.
Don't fuck up and say something like this. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Like someone, the next hip, semi-youngish, like some guy in his like 40s or 50s will come out.
Hey, it's me.
Everyone, yeah, okay. You're the oldest person I know,
Like
John.
Ashton Kutcher?
You're the oldest.
Yeah,
shit.
right.
But like, what I'm saying is like some guy who's coming in and he's like, oh, I'm the head of this company. I played video games since the very beginning, right? It's sort of like almost the opposite effect of, right? Everyone loves him, but it was like the Reggie thing. But then like we all kind of forgot that like Reggie kind of sidestepped what's her name like during that really shit like those awful years of Nintendo, during the Wii era. You get what I'm saying? Like we kind of forget that.
Shit, the one Treehouse employee who got canned for
so it's like
having a side gig. I don't remember what.
Oh right, yeah, because she yep.
So like, so, you know what I'm saying? Something's gonna like come out that that empire will crumble, right?
Allison Rapp, that's who it was.
Sure. No one liked Don Matrick. That's like because that dude was a charisma vacuum, right? Elon
liked him, I'm sure.
I'm sure. I guess your grandma who was like, look at that.
Look at that nice young man with his well-combed hair.
Is that Nintendo you? Is that? But like I said, like you guys were saying, again, they're victims of their own sort of like hubris, their stupidity. In what universe could you pitch this if you weren't on top of the world? In what fucking like how? Like how did you expect this to go? You know what I'm saying? Considering that your user base is what? Primarily indie games, primarily games that are made for like $3.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, and like it's funny, the Ashton Kutcher name drop is very funny because like I think it's not just like the tearing down of the CEO type. I think we as a culture, as a society, have grown so we have so much less patience for sociopathic bullshit these days, right? So you can be somebody I haven't had to think about in a very long time, but you write one letter supporting a serial rapist and we're all like, shut the fuck up.
Like, shut up, brownface, and then you know, pull up the that weird ad that he did years ago.
That whole thing, that whole video.
So,
wow.
I love you guys. I need to eat. I'm very hungry.
Go eat. We're gonna be wrapping up here in a moment anyway.
We're literally at
well, why don't we end, Cissy, can you just end with telling us like where people can follow you and just enjoy your amazingness?
I'm on Instagram at Cissy Speaks, and kind of that's it. I have a Twitter account, but I kind of left when the man baby took over. But I'm there. I do dumb things and I post
You
about
are
it.
on Blue Sky too, right?
I have an account. I've never actually done anything with it, so yes.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Blue Sky needs to take off before it can take off.
I know. I'm doing a lot of town halls with Nava talking about, how to protect ourselves against AI. Any potential voice actors out there, if you want to be part of Nava, it's $10 a month. You get access to healthcare and everything that we're working on. It's been really great.
Is there
I'm
anything
out and about.
anybody can do, or anybody or anywhere somebody can visit to support this organization?
Yeah, navavoices.org, NAVA voices.org is our website. You can donate, you can join. We're having a gala in December to raise money to try to get in front of Congress. So you can do that.
I know that I will be going to support it, and I strongly encourage anybody listening to this to go support as well with even just $1, because you know, it's our responsibility, I think, to help maintain the people. I mean, we all love video games. We love this industry, and I think that is incumbent upon us to help maintain the people who allow us to enjoy this this wonderful hobby of ours, be it voice actors or developers, people behind the scenes. You know, because without them, we're not going to be able. There's nothing. We don't have an industry without voice actors or developers or anybody who is helping make the gears turn. So please, if you can, go and donate whatever you can, if you can. Because this is really important stuff. Help voice actors keep their agency. That's something that's very, very important to me. Cissy, and I know it's important to Cissy. So, and if it's important to Cissy, it should be important to everybody. So,
doing a real Midwestern goodbye here, John.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, look, I'm from Chicago. I talk a lot. Thank you, everybody, to tuning in tonight. Thank you, Cissy, one more time for joining us again. It was an absolute treat having you back on. And we got a big review season coming up. We're Square content creators, so look for a bunch of Square Enix reviews coming from us this fall and winter. And as always, kindness costs nothing. Be good to each other, and we'll see you next week.
Cosign.